The big difference is that ultimately somebody has to make a decision, and when on the personnel side, a lot of times in harmony with Pete, it comes down to me and him. And so, the hardest or the most different thing for me yesterday probably was, and the day before, was when we talked to the guys that we unfortunately had to let go. That that's a different conversation than I've had in the past. In the past, it was more like maybe I was the person just delivering the news, but I think there was an understanding, looking at him, be like, you're part of the main reason why. And so I think there's a responsibility in that, and something that I don't take lightly. But I think I learned about us and what we're trying to do as the Raiders, that we had great communication, and we were able to solve any problems that kind of were laid out in front of us.
Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting just on the Midwest and the West and on the West Coast of the United States here. I'm trying to break down the Raiders and talk about them. They made some moves recently, so we'll talk about that. And also, I think first and foremost, Ryan, how are you? And then I think we should jump right into the press conference by the GM of the Raiders, John Spytek.
I'm doing good. It's good to finally get down to who the 53 are going to be for this week. At least we have a good idea who's going to be showing up in New England. Come week one, we've kind of sorted out a lot of the position groups. Obviously, changes will occur as injuries come up, but the Raiders have got everyone back they basically wanted on the practice squad. So these are the 70 guys they're going to roll with for now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, you're going to have still, Ryan and Dwayne, myself and Ryan are big depth guys, and one of these years we'll do this show when the Raiders will have like nice depth on this roster, especially on the defensive side. So let's jump into it. John Spytek talked about, the Amari Cooper thing, talked about the Kenny Pickett thing, threw in there that he was 15-10 as a starter, stuff like that. Let's start off with the guys they let go. Like, FCS guys at the end of the draft. We knew that it was gonna be tough for them to make the roster. What are your thoughts about how having to let those guys go when the Raiders do have holes in a lot of different places?
Well, obviously, let's look at Cam Miller. He's a developmental quarterback. He was a sixth rounder. He came from a small program. It was interesting they waited so long to take a guy in the draft, and we all wanted them to take a developmental guy a little bit earlier. We had thought hopefully they found their guy that they can develop, but he regressed. The last two preseason games show that he's a long way from playing, and if anything happened to Geno Smith right now, you just can't put Cam Miller in the game. So it doesn't surprise me they let him go. And they got him on the practice squad, so they can continue developing him there. If any other team wants to try to come get him at any point, the Raiders will have the option to elevate him to keep him. But it just shows how hard it is when you want to wait till the fourth, fifth, sixth round to take your quarterback of the future. It doesn't work out. It very rarely does. So this is another example of that. And then Tommy Mellott, he was a quarterback. They tried to make a wide receiver. He didn't really show up in any of the preseason games. He didn't really stand out as a special teams coverage guy or returner when he got his chances. So it doesn't surprise me they let him go. But the fact they didn't try to get him on the practice squad just tells me they didn't see enough natural wide receiver ability and athleticism to be able to continue down that path. They went with other wide receivers that have played wide receiver that could help them more in the immediate future. Obviously, Alex Bachman, and then Bo Jackson's. I believe it's his nephew. I think Cedric Jackson made the practice squad as well. So. Yeah, some people were lamenting taking a guy in the sixth round on a flyer and trying to develop him and not putting him on the practice squad, but they obviously didn't see enough to warrant that. So we just have to trust their evaluations on that one.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, me and quarterbacks, I'd rather I'd rather not take anybody if they're gonna take somebody that late, because it's just like you're taking. I don't want the Raiders to live in the outlier world. Like, you know about draft rooms more than more than me, but like I'd rather try to like stay in the realm of like guys who you think could actually can compete now. Um, and then I'd rather just not like go with the outliers because when you get outliers, then you get people psyched up thinking, hey, you got the next Edelman, and now he's not on the roster anymore, and stuff like that. So Cam Miller, taking a late quarterback isn't a big deal, but like they have more of an issue taking quarterbacks earlier. But we talk about that another day. But yeah, I mean, not that not that it's like it's a guarantee to take somebody later on, but that when you have holes like especially in the secondary, sometimes you find a guy who can play in the secondary for you later in the season, who can develop and stuff like that, or a linebacker, things like that. So that's what we'll see what happens with with the Raiders and their picks here coming up. My only question is to you about the draft real quick. Does it concern you that like only if you look at who they drafted, it doesn't seem like only one person's going to be able to hit the field in week one?
No, it doesn't concern me because this team, like we said, has a lot of depth. Obviously, Jack Beck in the second round is a wide receiver they have high hopes for. He got beat out by obviously Dante Thornton, who's a bigger play stretch the field guy that fits in this offense. And Beck could be a guy that obviously next year, if something were to happen to Jacoby Myers or maybe an injury to Amari Cooper this year,
Mm-hmm.
he'll find the field. But they went out and got some veterans to fill some holes. Um, Obviously, Genty's going to hit the field. We're going to see Thornton a little bit. I believe we are going to see Hemingway quite a bit. We're going to see JJ Pegoose, the defensive tackle. Those guys are going to have rotational roles on this team. So it's not like they're not going to play. And as we get into the season, if this thing gets off the rails and they're out of contention and they have 3 or 4 wins heading into, you know, mid-November, then those young guys are obviously going to play a lot more. So they're trying to win right away. So I understand trying to get some veterans on the field and how Amari Cooper is going to help. Kenny Pickett at least gives them a fighter's chance. I thought it was funny. The kiss of death, I'll say with the Spytek interview, was the first thing he said when they asked about Kenny Pickett was, well, he beat us when we played him. Like that's the same thing that Antonio Pierce said about Gardner Minshew when they signed him. So like the evaluation shouldn't be, well, he beat us when we played him. It's like, what is he a good enough player to help you win? Obviously, they think he is, but like it drives me crazy when a coach or a GM, the first thing they say is, well, they had success against us in the past. Like your job's to scout the whole league, not just the guys you played. So
Yeah.
I that rubbed me a little bit wrong the way because that's the exact same thing Antonio Pierce said about Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I'm not big on that either. Yes, I mean that shouldn't be what you're concerned with. But I mean, listen, Kenny Pickett is a backup, decent backup. I mean, like if I mean, obviously if he has to go the whole year, the season's over. But if he has to go just a a small portion, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks max, then I think the Raiders feel like they can run the football and do some stuff here. If you don't see my face, I'm not my camera's not available right now, so just so everybody knows why you're not seeing both of us here. Um, let's see here. Next was obviously the Amari Cooper. So Amari Cooper comes back to the Raiders, 1 year deal. He kind of waxed poetic about how he played last year in Buffalo. I thought that was a little bit over the top. I didn't think he played great with. I don't think he played great with that team. When I watched, but thoughts about um picking up Amari Cooper here. You have Amari Cooper now. It sounds like that Jacoby Myers isn't going anywhere. If you listen to Adam Schefter. So what are your thoughts about that situation there with two veteran receivers, and then you can mix in some of the young guys?
I think they needed a veteran, obviously, to add to that group, and obviously it's going to cut into the snaps for Tucker and Thornton, which aren't great for their development long term. But if this team really wants to win, those two guys aren't positioned to help them immediately right away. They're more gadget speed guys down the field. Try to get some one-on-ones with them, and hopefully that they can make the plays. I'm concerned about Amari Cooper, where he is at this point in his career, just as far as his like overall ability to stretch a defense and then hold on to the football. But if you're asking him to win one-on-one on the backside, on slant routes, on comeback routes, where he can kind of use his route running ability to get open, because let's face it, he's not getting double teamed. They're still going to run the coverages towards Brock Bowers and then try to stop Ashton Genty. And then you still have to figure out what you're going to do. Um, if you do have Myers in the slot, like he's going to draw a little bit of attention. So like Amari Cooper is going to be one-on-one the whole season when he's on the field. Is he an X receiver though? Like that's my question. Like, are you going to line him up to the single side as the X most of the time? And is he going to win? Is he that kind of guy right now, or is he more of a guy that should be playing the flanker position, which is where you're going to have, obviously, you're going to have Myers on the field when you're running 12 personnel, or, and I saw a lot of people say they're going to run out at 11. I think they're going to run 12, but use Bowers as a wide receiver and kind of flex him out. So even though they're in a three wide receiver formation with basically two guys in the slot, you're going to have 12 personnel because the defense is lining up based on the number of tight ends. And if you have Bowers and Myers, it's still 12 personnel because there's two tight ends on the field. They're just going to treat Bowers as a wide receiver. I think the defense is going to do that. They're going to play nickel, and the Raiders should be able to run the ball better. So I think it's going to help the run game because you're going to be able to get those teams in a nickel, and then you're just going to hope that Aston Genty can feast at that point.
Yeah. I think too, like, I mean, with the way it's all set up, I mean, don't they have to have it kind of feeds itself to having to have Tucker or Thornton on the field at when they go through three wide because you need somebody, even if it's just cardio, to to, to stretch the field.
I think you need one of them most of the time. I think you can get away with Myers, Bowers, Mayer, and Cooper because when I think of Chip Kelly offenses, they're going to take some shots, but it's also a lot of it's about yards after catch. It's about getting
Mhm.
the ball in the hands of the playmakers and letting them make plays. Whereas Tucker and Thornton are basically just stretch guys right now. They're not guys that you're going to be able to get the ball to, and they're going to make a bunch of guys miss and be able to get yards after the catch, which I think you can still get a little bit with Cooper. Obviously, you can get that with Bowers. And I think they kind of probably saw that as like, okay, we don't have guys that are really going to make plays with the balls in their hand and make guys miss in the open field, because that's not really Tucker or Thornton's strength. It's
Yeah.
not really Myers' strength either. So you really don't have those guys on the field if you're just running those three out there with Bowers. So I think this gives them another opportunity to move a guy around the field and get some yards after the catch, what they're going to need in this offense.
Yeah, and I will say this, the with Myers and Cooper, you do have two guys who are just out just really good route runners. That's how they're going to win, and I think that's something that you can that's going to help the offense as well too. And then they have the one guy you have to worry about in Bowers, and who's going to be on the field all the time. So that's something that you gotta hope the Raiders can take advantage of as well. Anything with the roster here as far as who got any other guys? I know you had your 53 guys you posted to Twitter the other day. Any surprises? I mean, pretty much was what we thought. You made a comment to me too about like people getting in love with guys on the bottom of the roster, which is like something that we really can't do.
No, this happens every year. As a guy will flash a little bit, you'll hear his name in training camp, and then he'll show something in a preseason game. But the guys that are on the field in that third preseason game usually aren't going to make the roster. And as we stated on previous episodes, like around the league, there's roughly 30 guys a year that get claimed off of waivers this time of year. This year was 29. Um, so you have to be a really good player and be in high demand for these other teams to let guys go and claim you. And I tweeted out, I didn't think any of the Raiders guys would get claimed, and they didn't. I didn't think they have that kind of depth where they were letting go guys that other teams were going to covet, and they were going to get back whoever they wanted on the practice squad. A lot of people were freaking out about Laki Tasi, the guard that the Raiders let him go, the international pathway player. But he's played 2 games of football or 3 games of football in his entire life, and he's like 21 or 22 years old. So for a team to carry that guy on the roster, they have to be able to be comfortable putting him in uniform and running him out there and activating him on game day. Um, you can't just waste a roster spot in the NFL. Like all these teams are trying to win, so
Yeah.
they're not just going to throw a roster spot away just to hopefully to cross their fingers and develop a guy. Andre Carter kind of surprised me. I thought they were going to keep 11 defensive linemen,
Mhm.
which they ended up doing by adding the pass rusher Brennan Jackson from the Rams. I just thought it would be Carter. Um, I was surprised they kept Aiden O'Connell on the roster through the initial cutdown, but then immediately he was put on IR when they claimed Jackson. I thought it was interesting the way that Spytek kind of worded that is like, well, you can only bring back 8 guys off of IR. So if they were going to make him and Lonnie Johnson designated return, that would only mean they'd have 6 left during the season. So I don't think they plan on activating him. And when they asked him, "Hey, what are you going to do when he's healthy?" He was like, "Well, we'll cross that bridge essentially when we get there." He made no comment that we plan on activating, aiding him, and carrying a third quarterback, 6 to 8 weeks down the line. So they did not give him a designation at that point, and I don't think they will moving forward. So they'll have 7 players plus Lonnie Johnson that can go on IR and they can bring back at any point in the year. So they didn't want to waste one of those 8 spots on Aiden
Yeah.
O'Connell, is essentially what he said.
So I'm looking at the roster right now and looking at obviously, I'm on looking at the depth chart, and you got Thomas Booker starting at defensive tackle, and then Malcolm Kuntz starting on the on the other end outside of Max Crosby. Any worries about having? I mean, obviously you want to stop the run. If I see those two line up against each other, would that be something that you know, in week one, I'm looking at Travion Henderson and Jamali Stevens trying to go wild over there?
I think that the way that Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham are attacked, this is going to be week to week.
Okay.
So you're going to see weeks where they go 4 down, and it's basically going to be 3 defensive tackles. It's going to be Jonah Lalau, Adam Butler, maybe like a Fotu, or maybe it's Thomas Booker, or maybe it's Pegues. When they want to stop the run with Max Crosby. There's some weeks they might start Tyree Wilson if they just want to set the edge. Um, it's going to be based on the opponent, is I think who's going to start. I don't think we're going to see Malcolm Kuntz start every week. I don't think Thomas Butler's starting every week. So
Yeah.
if they're facing teams that don't want to run the ball and spread you out and throw it, then you're probably going to start Kuntz and Booker. But you're going to see all of these defensive linemen play, other than across from Max Crosby. So those other 3 spots away from Max Crosby are going to vary, and they're going to go 5-man front against some teams too. So
Yeah.
you might see Kuntz lined up, and they may play a little bit of a 3-4 front with 3 defensive tackles, and you have Kuntz and Crosby at outside linebacker. So they're going to change this up week to week. I wouldn't really worry about who's the starters and who's not. It's just going to be based on the opponent every week.
Yeah. The two guys who are definitely going to be there, the bookends are going to end up being Butler and Crosby. Those guys aren't going anywhere. So as far as that goes, so that makes sense. That makes sense. So secondary wise, I mean, are they looking at? Do you think they're looking to try to grab a safety here somewhere along line? It sounds like from what I read, that Lonnie Johnson is really just it's going to be like a 4 week thing, and he's going to because he's coming back to the Raiders soon. I'm not maybe not soon, but like about in a month. So they're not panicking about that part of it. But is there should they be looking at getting some more safety help?
I think it comes down to how healthy is Thomas Harper. Thomas
That's
Harper's a
true.
guy who we heard about that might start at nickel. He played a lot of safety towards the end of the season last year. He kind of disappeared. And I posted something about not really, people are saying he's injured. The Raiders never announced an injury. They said he was away for personal reasons. And then for him to make the roster would lead me to believe he wasn't injured. There was something else going on in the background where they completely think he's healthy going into week one. Because I would run him out there before I ran Chris Smith. I was surprised Chris Smith made the roster and Terrell Edmonds kind of got pushed to the practice squad, but they can just elevate Edmonds 4 times throughout the year. So if they need to elevate him 4 weeks in a row and then make a decision on what to do at that point, maybe they sign him to the roster and then they let someone go, and then they can still bring Lonnie Johnson back when he's healthy. So I think they have 4 safeties they can get through the first month of the season with. I would be concerned more at corner because they kept 5, and there's a lot of youth and a lot of guys that have been hurt, and there's a lot of question marks. So we're gonna have to trust Pete Carroll here. I thought they'd be really active. I thought they'd go out and claim at least one, if not 2 corners. They didn't claim any, so they're really comfortable. Obviously, going into the season with Porter, Stokes, Richardson, Kelly, and Holmes is their 5 corners. I would expect that probably means you're going to see them play a lot of base defense with 3 linebackers on the field. They're going to play a ton of zone. You're going to see Jamal Adams. You're going to see Jermaine Pratt. You're going to see Devin White. You're going to see Landon Roberts. 3 of those 4 guys are going to be on the field a lot. and different combinations based again on the opponent, down and distance, the packages, the fronts they're going to run. And then you occasionally you're going to slide. Jeremy Chin's going to go down and play in the nickel, which means you need another safety on the field. So this Raiders defense is going to be a lot of mix and match. We're going to see different personnel. We're going to see different packages, and it's going to look different week to week. Hopefully, the roles they ask these guys to play, they understand what to do in this defense because this is not just Patrick Graham going into year, 3 or 4. This Pete Carroll's hands are all over this defense. So they're going to be doing things that they've never done under Patrick Graham. So we'll see. We'll see what Pete does here. I expect to see a lot of cover three and cover one mixed in, and then a little bit of cover four every now and again. But they're primarily, in my opinion, going to play a lot of cover three, which is the Pete Carroll staple. Hopefully, the pass rush can get home because the pass rush does not get home. Teams can pick apart cover three.
Yeah, no question about it. Let's see. So Thayer Munford is no longer here, right? And then the Raiders picked up 27-year-old Stone Forsythe, who Pete Carroll knows pretty well. So we thought about that pickup. I mean, they obviously need that, a swing tackle here, if you will, to kind of, if somebody gets hurt, some can step in and play some downs or some games. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mentioned that Mumford's days were numbered a couple of days ago on Twitter X, and they were. He made the initial 53 and immediately got let go. Um, Forsythe doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be around long as a swing tackle. If he has to start games, the Raiders better send help over to that side, which means you're probably keeping Michael Mayer in or you're keeping the back end of Chip. Like I don't want to watch Ashton Gentry just have to chip defensive ends because the Raiders are playing Forsythe, and he struggled really bad last year with the Seahawks. But Pete knows him. He knows the makeup. He knows the character of the player. He knows how he works. He knows how he studies. Obviously, Gino knows him. So if those guys vouch for him as a swing tackle and they have more faith in him than Mumford, then we're just gonna have to roll with it. I don't think Mumford played well at all in the preseason. I don't think Carlos Rogers, or I'm sorry, Charles Grant is ready to play
Yeah.
right tackle if he has to. I think they just want to keep him on the left side, develop him behind Miller, and not ask him to have to go back and forth because I don't think he's ever played right tackle, at least not in college or in the NFL, obviously. So they need a guy to just be a backup right tackle. I don't think we're going to see Stone Forsythe slide over and play left tackle if something happened to Colton Miller. If something happened to Colton Miller, this team's in big time
Yes.
trouble,
Yeah,
which
trouble.
we've talked about in the offseason.
Yeah, yeah. No, they could have. I mean, that's why I was. That's why I wouldn't have been. If they. I know Genty was sitting right there, but if they went tackle there, it wouldn't have surprised me if they went tackle in that in the first round there. I've seen so I've heard I've talked to people who are fans, who's watched Stone play, and that's pretty much they weren't pleased. So yeah,
And as
leave
much
it
as
at
I'm
that.
not a PFF guy, I kind of glance at his PFF grades. Don't do it. He was
It's
graded
brutal. It's brutal. It's brutal.
132 out of 140 tackles last year.
Backfield real quick. You got Genty, obviously. Moster, Zamir White makes the squad. Dylan Lobby. I know people. I know people really wanted to see Sincere McCormick because he flashed a little bit during the season last year, but didn't make the team. Now he's on now. The believe he got picked up by the Niners the last time I saw. Um, how's the running back room is I think definitely drastically improved from last year.
Well, obviously, you spent a first round pick in Ashton Genty, but I think the makeup of the four is kind of what you're looking for. You have Genty, who your hope is the every down back, bell cow, tote the rock, catch the ball on third down, hold up in pass protection. If anything happened to him, I think that you're going to be okay with Zamir White and Raheem Mostert. They complement each other. White is the gap runner, the inside power guy that has a little bit of breakaway speed. Mostert's more get out on the edge, get him in space. He can catch the ball on third down. So those two guys complement each other well, and then the fourth guy, obviously, it's special teams. Like Lavi can be a returner; he can catch the ball in the backfield. But the biggest thing is that he flashed on coverage units, which Sincere McCormick didn't really do in preseason. So
Yeah.
I think the ability to run down and cover punts and cover kicks is why he made this team. And then obviously he's a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. So Chip Kelly's going to find a way to take advantage of that. And he will, I would assume he's active on game days because of his special team abilities. So I think you're going to see all four of those guys suit up And Mostert can play special teams as well and be a kick returner if you need him to. And obviously they had Zamir White return kicks in the preseason. So I like the makeup of the running back room. I think they're deep. And like I said, if I think something happened to Genty, I think White and Mostert are good complements to each other to split time in the backfield if you need him to. And then obviously use Lowry. You could sprinkle him into if something happened to Genty. So I do like the running back room.
And if you're into surfing, Raheem Mostert is a tremendous surfer, by the way. Um,
Ke Raheem Kelly Slater Mostert.
yes, yes. And I thought maybe White was on the way out because he played a lot, I thought, in the last preseason game, but he showed that jump cut. He was doing a lot of jump cuts and just like and ran the ball hard in that game. I thought he played well. So he makes the roster. Um and as far as that goes, I mean the tight end room, we know about that. Talked about the offensive line. Still, I mean, still could use a little bit of depth there because you know that I don't know if Grant or Rogers are going to give you anything as far as that goes. And then you got Kappa. Hopefully Kappa is healthy. So if you need him or anything like, or if you need him, then definitely you're going to be not in trouble, but you want to have him ready to play so he can play. What's your
I would
biggest
add
con-
on.
Go
I
ahead.
would add on the offensive line. I thought it was interesting that Will Putnam made the team, and it's something we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Where as if they're dead set on that Jackson Powers Johnson's a guard, and he's going to be the right guard no matter what,
Yeah.
and anything happened to Jordan Meredith. The Putman had a chance to make it if that was going to be the case. He made it. So my assumption at this point is they're going to play Jackson Powers Johnson at guard as long as they can do it. They may even run Putnam in there if something happened to Meredith. I wouldn't. I would probably slide Jackson Powers Johnson over and play Alex Kappa, the veteran that they brought in. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did run Putnam out there. I thought he was going to be on the practice squad and they would elevate him if they needed him. But the fact they kept him on the 53 leads me to believe that Powers Johnson is going to be a guard on this team. As much as we want to see him play center, I do think at some point Caleb Rogers. Now remember he played right tackle last year at Texas Tech. That if anything happened to Glaze and they had to run Forsyth out there, we might start seeing Caleb Rogers take some snaps at right tackle because he has the flexibility if they need him to go out there. So we may see Caleb Rogers play a little bit of right tackle at some point this year along that offensive line.
Yeah. Sweet. That. Any, I know it's something that we talked about. That people have contacted the show about is any worries about Jordan Meredith playing center for the first time. But I mean, listen, you got the guy who was an experienced play caller who is trusting him to do it. It sounds like the Raiders are really going home on that. But any worries about him doing that coming up this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to just because he's never done it, and the speed of the game is gonna speed up here in the regular season. It's not the preseason anymore. He's gonna be teams are gonna line up their big nose tackles. They're gonna put a right over him, and they're gonna try to power him back. He's not a big guy. He's about 300 pounds. So the Raiders are gonna be facing some teams with defensive tackles that are 330, 340, 350, and you want to see if he can hold up. And they may go to a bear front, and now he's got to block, a giant nose tackle. Can he do it? Can he open up running lanes? I think the fact you have a veteran quarterback, and this is where if you have a veteran quarterback that can help with the protection calls and identify where the blitzes are coming from, he can help Meredith. If you had a young developmental quarterback in there, you don't want to pair him with a guy that's never played center. If that was the case, you would have a veteran. Um, so you want to if one's a veteran or a rookie, you want the other one to be a veteran. And I think the good thing here is obviously Geno Smith is. So I think Geno Smith is going to be involved a lot in setting the protections and helping out Meredith early in the season.
Mhm.
Because teams are going to show him stuff that's not on film that he's probably never seen as a center. Like their teams aren't running
Yeah.
these different schemes on third down where they're bringing blitzes from all over the place in the preseason. Um, so it looks good in the preseason. It looks good in practice against his own team. But let's see what happens when he starts facing some exotic fronts on 3rd and 7, and if the Raiders can block it up and how that's going to happen. So the bullets are going to start flying here in about 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Going over the practice squad, you got Alex Bachman, Chris Collier, Terrell Edmonds, Jafari, Harvey, Cedric Jackson, Matt Jones, Antonio Mafi. You got Cam Miller, Albert. I can't Junior. I can't do his last name.
Alberto.
Alberto, Carter Runyon, Justin Short, Ataki Tasai, and then you got Trey Taylor, Grady Vance, fight on. You got Dalton Wagner, who still survives. Everybody's backup, everybody's favorite backup tackle, and then JT Woods at safety. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. We're getting ready to start previewing this Patriot game, and the Patriots are that's going to be an interesting game for the Raiders to tackle. We can preview that coming up next week. It's gonna be fun times. They are initially like, what's your biggest concerns, and what are your biggest reasons for optimism in that game? Before I know we'll break it down next week, but just like kind of walking into it right now.
I think from afar, I haven't studied their roster, but based on what they ran out last year and kind of where they attacked in the draft, I would be really concerned or I wouldn't be concerned about their skill position players. I don't think they have wide receivers going to win outside consistently. I think the Raiders defense, they're not going to be able to attack the outside wide or the corners of the Raiders with wide receivers. So if the Raiders are within their technique and they tackle well in this game, I don't think they're going to give up a lot of explosive plays. I think another weakness for the Patriots is that offensive line. You have a rookie at left tackle, albeit he went fourth overall, Will Campbell, but the offensive line is not a strength of the Patriots. So the Raiders defensive line, if they show up and they get after Drake May, and they stop the run in this game and get them into third and long, the Raiders defense should have the ability to hold this team under 20 points. The concern on the other side is Mike Vrabel teams have always stopped the run. They're always big. They're always physical.
Yeah.
The Raiders have to run the football in this game, and keep that offense off the other offensive off the field. Keep Drake May on the sideline. Create some turnovers when he is on the field. But they have to control the clock, and when they get the lead, they have to be able to run the clock out because they can't keep running the defense out there over and over and over again and expect them to keep getting the ball back. So I think this game, I know it's a 10 o'clock game on the road, but I think the Raiders do match up pretty well here if they can run the football. And then obviously, I think their defensive line matches up well, and I think the weakness of the Raiders in the secondary won't be exposed in week one like it will be when other teams play them. So I think they do have a realistic chance of going on the road and getting a victory.
I think also too is special teams coverage, because if you look at any part of the preseason, Henderson has been electric with the football in his hands. I know it's preseason, but I mean, he's still, we saw it at Ohio State. We know what kind of ability he has, so you got to be careful with that. And then also, can the Raiders stop the run? Like you said, I mean, stopping the run is going to be huge for them in this game. If they can do that, and then let's say we'll force Drake May in the third and forevers, then you have a chance to go ahead and win the game.
I would add too, when you talk about special teams, normally backup linebackers, backup secondary guys, you want defensive players that are used to tackling, running down there and covering kicks.
Uh-huh.
When I look at this Raiders linebacker crew, like, you're going to ask a rookie in Lindenberg if he's active? He might not even be active. So, like, are you going to ask Jamal Adams, Jermaine Pratt, Devin White to run down on kicks? Because some of these guys are going to have to. Have they done it a lot? I don't know. But the Raiders are going to have to they may have to put some starters on defense early in the season just to make sure they don't get exposed. Obviously, Darian Porter's a great special teams player. They can do that. But, Darnay Holmes is going to have to run down there. Richardson's going to have to run down there. Like, most of their starters on defense may actually be playing a little bit of special teams. So we'll see. And obviously, they didn't keep a lot of wide receivers. They're going to run down on special teams. Amari Cooper's not running down on teams. Jacoby Myers isn't. Thornton's probably not. Tucker isn't. Like, these linebackers and secondary are going to be playing special teams.
So we can see a return this week. Kick it out of bounds. Kick it out of bounds.
I think we might see some starters playing special teams, is what I think.
You're gonna have to see that, and that could lead to something we don't want to talk about.
I'm sure Jack Besh will have no problem running down and tackling someone, but
yeah,
you're going to see a lot of these defensive backs and linebackers playing special teams.
Yeah, Cool. So I know, like I said, Raider Nation, thank you for joining us, and the season's right here. So next week we'll meet up and we could give you as an in-depth preview of that game. We'll give game one for the Raiders as we can. Anything else before we head out?
No, and I think there could be some roster changes here even going into next week. So I don't think the Raiders are done. I think Pete Carroll's going to keep tinkering. I think John Spytek's going to keep tinkering. And we'll see. And now we're really going to get to see what this Chip Kelly offense is because they haven't really shown anything at all in the preseason. So are the Raiders going to be able to show up and run a lot of different plays and formations and motions? We haven't seen motion in the preseason. Like,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to do all that and not have pre-start or pre-snap penalties? Can they keep the penalties down?
Mhm.
It's going to be fascinating to see what Chip Kelly does, and I'll love it if the first play of the game is they go play action and take a shot down the field. Like, let's start the season, let's throw the bomb and see what happens.
Yeah, seriously, just watch out for Christian Gonzalez. And when he
He
does,
actually might not play. He didn't practice today, and there is some doubt of whether he's
he
going to play
plays.
week one.
We'll see. We'll see. I did want to shout out to a former Raider who we both love very much is Nnamdi Asomugha. He has a new movie coming out, so shout out to Nnamdi Asomugha. I know he's been in the acting for a minute. And a fun fact, I did not realize he was married to Kerry Washington. I did
Oh
not
yeah,
know that. I did not know. I was like, scandal. I was like, look at you, look at you, look at you, Nnamdi. I give you props. I was like, okay, I didn't realize, but good for him. I know he's trying to get his acting chops going. He's been acting for a while now. He got a new movie coming out. So good luck to him in that.
definitely. And shout out to any Raider fans that 4 of the 5 pictures over my head are signed by Raiders players. If they can figure out who those are, I know you can't really see them, but let's see if people can give their best guesses.
Hey, listen, if screenshot is available, so we can screenshot it. Let's
Yeah.
see, let's go, let's go. If you can get all 5, I'll send you a T-shirt.
I will say this. One of them is an NBA player, and my wife has told me that I have to replace it with a Raider by September 13th. So I need to get another Raiders autograph photo. If you guys have any suggestions of who that should be, you could get anyone on eBay. I've literally looked at it the other day, and like you pick any random Raider in the last 25 years, and you can find an autograph photo. Napoleon Kaufman is in the running. But I want to keep it to guys that I've seen. So let's go like 1985 to present. If there's a player that
Mhm.
you think that should go up there, let me know who it is in the comments section.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it great when the wife says, gives you a command,
Yeah.
and it's like, say less. I got you. I got you. Say
Yeah,
less.
because my basketball autographs are all on this other wall behind me.
Yeah.
And up that's Allen Iverson up in the corner back here. And she
Yeah.
told me it has to be all football. Basketball's on this wall, baseball's on
On
that wall
that
over
wall,
there.
yeah.
So every
Yeah.
wall is like sports themed. So she told me to take the Allen Iverson one down and I'm allowed to replace it.
Cool. You got to coordinate. Got to coordinate.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. And listen, enjoy the first real week of college football because we got some big games. I will be out at the Coliseum. So for USC fans, you want to say hello, come say hello. And then the Raiders will take on the Patriots the following week. So it should be fun. Enjoy your Labor Day as well, folks. Take care.
All right. Take care.